Now, Michigan Reimagined with Chris Buck.
So my notes say that it was March 3rd of 2020. I completed an interview with this next guest. Little did I know that that would be the last face-to-face interview I'd conduct for a while. But back then, we discussed the beginnings of a transformational redevelopment project for the Allen Neighborhood Center on Lansing's East Side. So here to share the status of this great project is the director of the Allen Neighborhood Center, Joan Nelson. Welcome back, Joan.
It's great to be here, Chris. Thank you for having me. And I remember that moment well. It kicked off 2 years of COVID and construction, which have been a wild ride.
Yeah, and it's funny, I've done a lot of work with developers, and they say it's best to do the construction during a difficult time, whether it's an economic downturn. I mean, nobody would ever talked about it from a pandemic standpoint, but if you can do the construction when everyone's distracted by chaos and then hopefully have it go live when things go back to normal, that's the best of all worlds. So
very interesting.
Maybe
very
that'll be your silver lining. So for those unfamiliar with the Allen Neighborhood Center, can you just quickly give us an understanding of what the Allen Neighborhood Center has historically been, because we're going to talk about what it's going to become.
Absolutely. So the Neighborhood Center was founded in 1999 to serve as a hub for neighborhood revitalization in the northeast quadrant of the city. So affectionately known as the Eastside, but actually a fairly large area encompassing about 18,500 people in 8,500 households, stretching from Lake Lansing on the north to the Red Cedar on the south, Cedar Larch Corridor on the west, and East Lansing city limits on the east. So fairly large area, although we focus fairly intensely on the, 20 square blocks, 40 square blocks actually immediately surrounding the neighborhood center, which is located on East Kalamazoo Street.
Got it. Okay. And the purpose, you talk about it being for revitalization,
yes.
But do you have themes or
Absolutely.
things that you're passionate about?
Thank you. Absolutely. We learned the value early on of working simultaneously across program areas. So our very earliest programs focused on youth development and food access, food security. We've had a pantry, actually a weekly pantry, produce pantry, since February of 2000. We have a farmers market that was launched in 2004. It's a lively year-round farmers market now. We have a hub. We operate a hub for urban gardening and farming education in Hunter Park. We cultivate an acre of parkland, have a big greenhouse there. Lots of kids programs around that as well. We have an incubator kitchen for entry-level food entrepreneurs to launch their food businesses. If it's related to food, we're probably doing it. We also have, over time, provided housing-related services, mostly housing counseling at different points, and assistance with improving energy efficiency in our old Eastside homes. We've done corridor improvements, social capital building, worked with organized neighborhood groups to, strengthen the social infrastructure of the East Side. So we are your basic ADD outfit. We have just learned the value of working in an integrative way.
Okay.
Around all of those issues.
So are you a true nonprofit? Or are you quasi-government? You must have a lot of partners that help you do this.
We have tons of partners, but we are a true nonprofit. We're a 501c3. But I think we probably have an approach that looks like social entrepreneurism. We're kind of a entrepreneurial outfit ourselves. We are governed by a board of directors of 12 to 15 people at any given time.
Okay.
60% of whom are people who live on Lansing's East Side, required by our bylaws.
Right.
And we engage, constantly with people in the neighborhood. Create all sorts of listening opportunities, charrettes, planning sessions, and whatnot to discuss the state of the neighborhood and identify emerging challenges and opportunities to improve the quality of life in that part of the city. So we are, very much a nonprofit, actually,
right.
But we do have lots of partners. I mean, almost from the get-go, we understood that an important role that the neighborhood center would play would be to act as a liaison, essentially, between the people of the East Side and institutional resource holders in the area.
Okay.
The city, the county, the health department, foundations, and whatnot, in order to craft programs and services that were necessary in that neighborhood.
And where does your funding come from?
All over the place. We are funded by grants. About 40% of our budget actually is funded by grants.
Okay.
But in addition, the other 60% is covered by program revenues as well as sponsorships and fundraisers. The program revenues are something that we began to focus on in 2012, 2013. We took a look at our budget and realized that 85% of it came from grants. That's a precarious position for any nonprofit. At that point, we were actually expanding our space in the 1600 block to include more food-related projects, an indoor farmers market, the incubator kitchen, and so on, a food hub to link mid-Michigan growers to institutional and commercial buyers in the area. And so we decided that we would try to establish modest revenue streams around these various programs so that taken all together, they would reduce our grant dependency. And in fact, they have done just that. So
that's great. Okay. And so for those who didn't tune into the episode back in March of 2020, we talked about a kickoff of a new redevelopment project.
Yes.
So why don't you give us a quick wind the tape back? So what
prompted this?
Yeah. What prompted the need to do this type of a massive redevelopment?
Well, the neighborhood center has been in the 1600 block of East Kalamazoo from the beginning, since '99. And at the point that we first opened, it was a pretty lively block. All of the other units, the second floor and the first floor commercial units were filled with various kinds of businesses. But over the years, the out-of-state owner lost interest in filling empty spaces. And so by 2018, we were the only game in town. We were the only entity on the entire block.
Huh.
And at about that time, the owner decided for the first time that he would be willing to entertain an offer. And we had long thought about the value of actually owning the space in which we were operating. And at the same time that the owner decided to, accept an offer or look at an offer, there was an incredibly generous benefactor that stepped forward and loaned us the money to buy the complex, to buy the Kircher complex. And with that done, we promptly, we knew what we wanted to do. We'd been holding charrettes and planning sessions with people in the neighborhood for 2 decades. And we had a pretty good idea about what kind of redevelopment we would like to do. We knew it would involve some housing, and we also wanted to increase the number of food and health related entities on the block. Really moving in the direction of creating a food innovation district in that part of town. So we knew program, clearly, but we did not know development. And so we took ourselves off to sit down with an old friend and supporter, Mark McDaniel from Senior Corporation. And Mark linked us with his with Senior Solutions, which is their production arm. And so we began working right away with Chris Laurent and James Dow of Senior Solutions to develop the plan and create the capital stack. And we spent the next year and a half actually doing just that. We had a couple of unsuccessful efforts at securing LIHTC funding, low-income housing tax credit funding. But finally, we were able to develop the $11 million required to create Allen Place. And Allen Place would be a mixed-use, mixed-income development featuring 21 apartments, as well as additional food and health-related entities. We were really fortunate in that we got a lot of support from foundations with which we had been working for a long time. The Community Foundation stepped up, the Consumers Energy Foundation. But in addition, we received a new market tax credit allocation from Michigan Community Capital.
Okay.
And that was extremely helpful. We received a $1.5 million grant from MEDC through their Neighborhood Revitalization Fund. Eagle came through to help us clean up the brownfield in which we were located. Turned out that every toxic activity known to humankind had been done on that block. It was just extraordinary. And so we received a grant, a sizable grant from Eagle to clean it up. We received funds from MDARD, partly for program expansion and program development, but also to contribute to the project. We've been working with MDARD on our food-related projects for 15 years at that point. We met a couple of new funders along the way. The Walters Family Foundation was a major funder for our Accelerator Kitchen. And we continue to be amazed at the support from resource holders, from funders, from corporate groups, funders of various sorts that have really rallied round and provided essential support as we've built this project out.
It's amazing. And you rattled off a lot of different entities, and I'm sure there are a lot of private people that have given. And what you find is that everyone contributes to things that they can contribute to or are passionate about. And some of the entities like Eagle is going to be the ones that help with the brownfield, right? So everyone's got their swim lane, but all of these people kind of coming together is what makes this whole thing happen, right?
Absolutely. And that has been really gratifying. And again, 3/4 of the funders and supporters were entities with which we had a previous relationship, but other folks we were working with for the first time. I think that what is unique and what is kind of distinctive about this project is that Allen Place really is a neighborhood crafted, a neighborhood driven, a neighborhood owned initiative. But it is also supported by a very broad range of funders and supporters outside the neighborhood that really made it possible.
But that's the character of you and the leadership team and the board and the services you provide and the charrettes and the outreach and just the moral compass and if you do good over a long period of time, you establish that kind of trust and people believe in the product, as it were, and want to see it continue. And when you raise your hand after doing good for all that time and say, I've got ideas, this is based on good feedback, we need your support, you find that people will rally around that. So you should really sleep well at night knowing that your brand as an organization and you as a person made that happen. So congratulations. It's really a great thing.
Yeah, we're excited about this.
So, we talked a little bit before we went live on the air about kind of the status of things now. So with your permission, why don't we downshift to now it's early November of 2021 as of this recording for those who find it later down the road. But as of this recording, what would people see if they drove by it right now?
Well, they would see a brand new 3-story building that is in a 10,000 square foot footprint. The top 2 floors of this 3-story are our apartments, the 21 units, 4 studios, 9 one-bedrooms, 8 two-bedrooms, about 3/4 of which have been leased. And we expect the remainder will be leased before the end of the year. On the ground floor, you'll see a lot of construction still happening as we build out the space for ELFCO, Eastside Lansing Food Co-op. A food co-op of 40 years history in this area is moving onto the block to operate a consignment grocery and a food co-op. They will be linking with the 30 to 40 farmers that we've developed a relationship with over time, through our farmers market or through our food hub and our veggie box program, to serve as a consignment grocery, a new model of grocery that has been developed in Ann Arbor, actually. And so we're really looking forward to ELFCO's effort on the block. In addition, we're building out a new federally qualified health center. This is one of the Ingham Health Center's clinics. It'll be a full clinic with offering clinical services, obviously, and behavioral health services, a lab, and a pharmacy.
Wow.
So those will come online after the first of the year, the clinic and ELFCO. The apartments we have people moving in on the 19th of this month of November, 2021.
Yep.
And we hope that all the apartments are filled by the end of the year. We are really busy planning a number of events to welcome our newest neighbors and to integrate them into the life of the block. We'll be doing receptions and a number of other activities to introduce the new residents to Allen Neighborhood Center, our programs, and to one another and to the neighborhood.
Right.
We actually have already opened a couple of the aspects, a couple of the components of the development. In mid-March, we opened our accelerator kitchen. We designed the accelerator as a sort of a next step for graduates of our incubator kitchen program. And so we've had 65 businesses launch in our incubator program since 2014.
Wow.
24% went on to open their own businesses. 52% of those were women-owned, 43% owned by people of color. And a number of folks gave up the ghost after about 6 months, having decided that while they'd lived the dream for a while, that food businesses are a challenge.
Yes.
So it's been the incubator kitchen has been a fascinating adventure for us. But we knew that some people would require an intermediate step between incubation and sole proprietorship. And so we built out, with the help of a lot of funders, the accelerator kitchen, opened it as a storefront right next to the neighborhood center outreach offices. It opened in mid-March with 4 entities: Tantai Peruvian, Mr. Leslie's Cheesecake, Smoothie Queen, and Gogi Korean Cuisine.
All right.
And so that's a going concern and has been since their opening. And then in mid-July, we opened a brand new kitchen for our Veggie Box program, which is a CSA, a community-supported agriculture project involving about 30 farms. And so we have a brand new kitchen to accommodate that really pretty rapidly growing program. And when I mentioned that we were continuing to draw new supporters, really generous folks in Lansing that are willing to be a part of this, of what's happening in that 1600 block, I was referring to people who have taken on naming sponsorships of various of our spaces or programs. So in our incubator kitchen, the Lake Trust Credit Union stepped up, and so now that is known as the Maker Kitchen, powered by Lake Trust. Rathbun Agency is the naming sponsor of our Accelerator Kitchen, and AF Group is the naming sponsor for our new Prep and Pack Kitchen for the Veggie Box.
How awesome
so
is that?
It's been really exciting, and it's really fun to kind of pull those organizations closer and introduce them to all that we're doing there, and their support is essential in ensuring the long-term sustainability of those programs. The development itself will ensure the sustainability of Allen Neighborhood Center, which was the hope of my board, right? That in 30 years, there is still an Allen Neighborhood Center looking around, scoping out the neighborhood, and identifying, again, emerging challenges and opportunities, pulling neighbors together to develop strategies to meet those.
Got it. All right. So, and I have to learn to use different words for all of this. I think of the Allen Neighborhood Center as the whole body of work that you're doing, but that's the original component.
Right.
That is the outreach and the programming and all that stuff. But all these other things are additions to that. And Allen Place is what we're now calling the block.
Yeah. Allen Place is the block, and it is, it's just multifaceted. It's, new health and food entities, new businesses, new residents. But in the heart of it, in the great middle swath of the block, is still Allen Neighborhood Center.
Got it. So, I mean, everything you've said makes me understand why this is such a special place and why it's so important. Is this happening in other towns? Do you have any other models that you've kind of helped build this idea off of? Or do you get calls from people that are in fledgling modes 20 years ago for you, where they're saying, I want to develop what you've got in my small town or in my city?
Well, we crib from everybody that we can.
Yeah, borrowing brilliance.
That's right. That's right. It's we're an intensely place-based outfit. We're located on the east side, although we have relationships, really solid, strong relationships with organizations and partners actually throughout the region who share our broad agenda or portions of our agenda. We also participate in statewide networking groups. We're part of the Incubator Kitchen Network for the state of Michigan, about 15 incubator kitchens around the state. We're part of the Food Hub Network of Michigan. While we're place-based on Lansing's east side and serving mostly this region, we feel that we stand shoulder to shoulder with people actually all over the country who are doing similar work in building sustainable communities. And we are part of an MSU project that brings women from various African countries here. We've been part of that for about 4 years. Huh. And women are placed at our site, women who are involved in food and ag in their own countries. Every year, one of my staff goes to Africa to visit, some of the women who have been sited with us and who are doing projects, in South Africa or Tanzania or Zanzibar, wherever.
Wow.
So, again, it's an interesting place to be very, grassroots and place-based, even while learning from and watching the developments that are comparable all over the world, that focus on food and health and affordable housing.
What's the best way for people to learn more?
www.allenneighborhoodcenter.org or allenplace.org.
Okay.
Allen Place will give you the bigger picture and much more information about the actual development.
Well, I hear the music creeping up. Is there any other final thoughts you want to add in before we sign off?
No, but just the final thought really is that this has been a tough road to hoe with COVID being a very public-facing organization and staying open throughout the pandemic and throughout the construction process. We appreciate Wheeland Corporation, our builder, has been so accommodating and flexible. But also just that this has been such a gratifying experience. This is a resourceful and a supportive community, and we are grateful.
Well, I'm grateful to have you on the show. We've been talking with the director of the Allen Neighborhood Center and Allen Place, Joan Nelson. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Chris.